Well, at 5 p.m. today, it is time to celebrate 500. What a special achievement. Ravichandran Ashwin, just the second Indian to join this club. इतने सालों से टेस्ट क्रिकेट हो रहा है भाई. 1877 से शुरू हुआ टेस्ट क्रिकेट. सिर्फ 9 ऐसे खिलाड़ी हैं जिनके पास इस माइलस्टोन को अचीव करने का सेटिस्फैक्शन है. इस मुकाम तक पहुंचे हैं रविचंद्रन अश्विन, एंड यू कैन सी द रिएक्शंस फ्रॉम द क्रिकेटिंग वर्ल्ड, फ्रॉम इंडिया एंड बियॉन्ड. ही इज बीन एन एब्सोल्यूट जेम फॉर इंडियन क्रिकेट. सो इट्स अ वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू फॉलो द ब्लूज लाइव. इट्स टाइम टू सेलिब्रेट अश्विन. क्या कुछ उन्होंने आज अचीव किया, हमें पता था ये तो होने ही वाला था, बट as an achievement, the second fastest after the great Muttai Muralidharan, and there's so many more stats and appreciations that we must give. So hello to Nagaraj Golapuri, senior journalist, ESPN Cricket for Rohan Deshmukh. अच्छा लगा आपको उस पार देख के. अब इस पार मैं वापस आ चुका हूँ, बट आर अश्विन कर गए सारे रिकॉर्ड्स आर पार. 500 test match wickets, and it's an achievement. It's such a special achievement. As we just have a look के जो second fastest, सबसे तेज अगर हम देखें इस कैटेगरी में जो 9 गेंदबाज है, मुताय मुरलीधरन right up the tree with 87 matches, और फिर आर अश्विन 98, and he's only the second Indian after Anil Kumble with 105. Kumble भी मौजूद थे वहाँ राजकोट में, and it was nice to have him pass on his congratulations as well. और भारतीय खिलाड़ियों के लिए अगर हम इस मुकाम तक पहुँचने की अगर गति देखें तो कपिल देव and Harbhajan Singh, two greats of the game. Harbhajan, who partnered Ashwin, who started bowling with early on, but Ashwin is well ahead of anybody else on that list with 98 matches to get 500 wickets. It's a lovely, lovely day for R. Ashwin. Personally, we know how much this would mean to him. जो longevity उन्हें दिखाई है, all format player अब भी है, कितना कुछ करते हैं, और अब 500 टेस्ट विकेट भी उनके पास है. तो let me start with you, Nagaraj. You've followed and covered so many of those players that we were witnessing, but this is a special achievement, isn't it, Ashwin's?
Yeah, very special. I'm trying. You're distracting me from his 501, looks like. There could be. So, but yeah, let's focus on 500. Yeah, long wait for him, isn't it, this series? Everyone would agree that Ravindra Jadeja, including, said at the outset of this match that he was expecting 500 would come in the first test in Hyderabad, and Ashwin has had to be. He's been challenged by baseball, and he was ready for that. He said that this is, I mean, it tests his intelligence. This is what we know. This is I think the hallmark of Ashwin, everyone agrees, is a thinking cricketer is a cliche, but this is a person who's a really intelligent brain and who makes cricket really enticing. And the way he breaks up, he's a student of the game. He's a real student of the game. Many people say that everyone's a student of the game, but this guy actually goes back, looks at not just his own bowling, but he talks cricket. So yeah, I mean, his numbers, we don't need to, I mean, the numbers will show 36 5 and in every department from average to economy, etc. He excels. So, and once again in this series, he's already created the stamp in Vizag Test, though he did just take 3 wickets in the second innings, or it was his 2 wickets around T on the final. Yes, that turned the match in India's favor. It was, if you remember, it was third evening, it was Ben Duckett he got, and then he got Ollie Pope and Joe Root, and that's the spell that kind of turned in India's favor. So thinking a test series or a test win in India without Ashwin, I've never, like, in the last decade, we've never been able to think
even today, it's been a tribute to Ashwin, क्योंकि आज भी जो wicket उन्होंने निकाला, it was at a time when England had started so well, so it's fitting that it is a top order bat that he got in Zach Crawley. Or Rohan, I'll come to you in just a moment, but first, Ashwin as a test player, he valued this format, he valued this particular discipline of his game, and let's just hear from Ashwin on how he approached test cricket.
Just go out there and enjoy myself. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I'm just playing cricket and enjoying it. The reason I picked up the bat and ball. Fortunately enough, over the last 3-4 years, I've managed to get the joy of playing the game again. And largely test matches, I've said, is about troubleshooting. In T20, you bowl a bad ball, you bowl a bad over. The way you try and curb the runs out, or you try to come back into the game, is very different to what you do in a test match. If you can stick to your plans and execute well, you can always, rectify your mistakes. You can troubleshoot. There is an opportunity that a batsman will come back, troubleshooting against you. So it's all about being there in the moment and having solid game plans 1, 2, and 3, such that you can execute them if one doesn't work. So for me, it's all about game plans, preparing towards the game plan, and come day you just, it's like a student going to an exam well prepared. versus someone who's not done all the units up. So I'd like to, tick all the boxes, go into the game and just give it all. Yeah.
ये जो इतनी बारीकी से अपने अप्रोच के बारे में बात कर रहे थे, जैसे स्टूडेंट एग्जाम के लिए जाते हैं, द टीचर आस्किंग द क्वेश्चंस इन दिस इंटरव्यू वाज एक्चुअली रोहन देशमुख. So now let me go to Rohan. This was an interview that Ashwin gave Rohan, and yeah, I mean it must be so refreshing and so unique, Rohan, कि आज के जो all format जो generation चलता है, इसमें we've witnessed in this generation one of India's all time greats in Test cricket.
Ronak and Nagaraj, interesting thing about this is that there is a lot of conversations obviously we've had with Ashwin before this also and after this interview, is the way how he the way he spoke about the game plans of having plan A, B and C, 1, 2 or 3 plans. The most busy person in the Indian team support staff is the video analyst or the analyst of the Indian team, and I have heard stories about how even late at night Ashwin will basically call up the video analyst and say, I want to see videos of this particular batsman who is up against, and this requests basically come on like it's a barrage of requests that come to the video analyst. The second thing is about how consistently Ashwin has reached to this particular mark, right? In fact, I was just looking at a few stats in how Ashwin has gone from 100 to 500, like say from 18 to 19 to 17 to 23 to 21 tests, sort of an average of around 20 test matches of reaching this particular landmark. And the 400 test wicket that he took, I remember, to 2021, and after that, when we were interviewing him, he could remember every wicket from 1 to 50 to 100, and I'm sure even right now, if you go and ask him, he will remember the first wicket, 50th, 100, to of course the 500 one now going into his memory as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember doing an event with him for ESPN Cricket for a few years back, and he knew everything about his wickets, his stats. He also mentioned इसी story के बारे में Ashwin ने कहा था कि he never considered himself as a great, even though he was scaling 300, 400 plus wickets. Even now on a bad day, he used to lock himself in a room and almost be too hard on himself. तो इस तरह की जो standard अपने आप से expect करते थे यार Ashwin. I think we've all got an Ashwin story, Nagaraj. I'm sure you have one as well.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not my own story. He's not told me all this. I've not been that lucky. But there's a story that Ashwin spoke fondly to one of his main mentors, W.V. Raman, on his own on W.V.'s podcast, and he said that there was a moment in around 2008-9, which might have been his third or fourth Ranji season, where W.V. confronted him and showed him the mirror. He said that Ashwin, it was at the beginning of the season. Apparently, Ashwin recollects that. WB told him that either you can stagnate now, or you can skyrocket, or you can just continue improving. So Ashwin apparently was driving a Santro at that point, going back home, and he was like, the music was happening, but he says that I didn't know what was playing, but the only thing that was playing in my head was, why did WB, my own coach, say this to me? What is it that is in it for him? Why is he being selfish or mean? Then he realized a little later that actually this guy is meaning good for him, and he said that every time he had any doubt in his mind, on self-reflection, he would revisit that quote, and he says that he brings that to this day to his mind in case he thinks like he's not been, like he's stuck in a spot or something. He thinks about that. So the as we keep coming back, like this guy really is like, he's not doing it for records or anything, but he's doing it because he enjoys the game. At 37 odd, he's still like, he's 500 wickets now, and we'll be talking about more records in the years to come. So yeah, I mean, that story really stays, was a great thing about Ashwin, talking about even he as a great at one point of time had doubts in his mind, but you need those kind of teachers in his life, and he's had those teachers in his life to show him the mirror.
is an absolute student of the game, and in spite of approaching another milestone 100 tests, एक तरह से कह सकते हैं कि जो अब चुनौती अश्विन के सामने इंग्लैंड के खिलाफ, he's facing perhaps one of the most difficult oppositions in his career. He played in 2012, the last time an England team won in India, or last time any overseas team won in India, and as stumps are called on day 2, चुनौती अब भी उतनी ही बड़ी है, सीरीज बराबरी के मुकाम पर है. और आज अश्विन की बदौलत ही वो पहला इंपॉर्टेंट ब्रेक थ्रू भारत को मिला. आफ्टर दे मैनेज टू पोस्ट 445, वी सॉ एन इंप्रेसिव स्टार्ट फ्रॉम ध्रुव जुरेल टू हिज टेस्ट करियर, सम हैंडी रन्स बाय द लोअर ऑर्डर फ्रॉम बुमराह एज वेल एज अश्विन. सो ही हैड इनफ टू डू विद द बैट, and then he also had a wicket in the last session. However, the story really is that England ke jo ballebaz hai, they are continuing to play their brand of cricket, and they've got 176 runs. That's quite extraordinary within 29 overs. Ben Duckett's hit one of the fastest test centuries, and we are really witnessing a team that is going to challenge India in spite of going down in the last test. मैं तो थोड़ा बहुत हैरान था कि रोहित शर्मा ने अश्विन को बॉल पहले क्यों नहीं दिया when they were already like 70-80 plus, and it is Ashwin's test, right? He's got his 500th at his good friend Ravindra Jadeja's home ground, which is a nice memory for him. But the test is strong, isn't it, Rohan? क्योंकि ये test match is far from in India's control with the way England have started, and it would spoil Ashwin's milestone if India aren't going to go ahead and get the result, especially जब पहली पारी में 445 रन उन्होंने बनाए.
Yes, but still a lot of runs to be made, and there's another interesting graphic which came up today, was how the England openers are facing Jasprit Bumrah, and the rest of the England batting lineup is facing Jasprit Bumrah. There's a stark difference in terms of how the wickets have fallen. Bumrah has taken the wickets of the middle order, lower middle order of England. Coming back to your point in terms of Ashwin, जिस तरह से गेंदबाजी कर रहे थे, और थोड़ा बहुत सरप्राइजिंग था ना कि पहले क्यों अश्विन को नहीं लेकर आए, क्योंकि पहले 10 ओवर में देखा जाए तो इट वाज ऑलमोस्ट लाइक एक वनडे गेम हम देख रहे हैं. अराउंड 7 के औसत से जो है रन बन रहे थे. ऑब्वियसली प्रॉब्ली इट इज़ वन ऑफ द हार्डेस्ट चैलेंज विच अश्विन हैज़, जो आपने मेंशन किया कि किस तरह से रिवर्स स्वीप का जो अटैक हो रहा है इंडियन स्पिनर्स के अगेंस्ट, उसको कैसे काउंटर किया जाए. बिकॉज सम ऑफ द शॉट्स नागराज वी सॉ आउटस्टैंडिंग वंस, द रिवर्स दिल स्कूप, then another one reverse lap, like was it a reverse sweep to 6 as well, to Ravindra Jadeja? Some fantastic shots, and I don't know how.
And I think Dhruv Churel जो अपने डेब्यू पे थे, he was really worried कि यार ये शॉट कहाँ से आ गया on my first test debut, just missed the keeper and went for 4.
Even
पहले प्रॉब्लम इंडियन स्पिनर्स को ये था ना कि स्वीप के अगेंस्ट कैसे काउंटर किया जाए. नाउ वी हैव गॉट a new challenge of the reverse sweep and the reverse scoop.
I think India have not yet convincingly found a convincing solution. There is no solution as such first, but they have not found a way that they can quieten this sort of mode of attack from England's batters. And no one was ready, really. Even the pitch has a big thing to say here, the way Ben Duckett, etc. has batted, and that's where I think we also need to point out about how India lost the opportunity. I think India will be again ruining that 100-odd runs they left out there, clearly, because even the guy and the strokes that including Rohit once again played, they would be cursing themselves because they were on top of the game at that point. 600, around anywhere between 550 to 600 total, even if England, what they have scored 200 runs in 35 overs wouldn't have mattered because they were 400 in the area still. But right now they are like just looking at 250 and they'll make it in a matter of a session or something. So that's one point. The other bit is about the strokes you're talking about. He has mind-boggling. Rohit just had this smile and appreciative smile when Ollie Pope played that thing. I mean, Jurel, of course, had no chance. But it's not just that stroke. The two strokes that stand for me today are Ben Duckett against Bumrah. There was a straight drive on the mid-on when the mid-wicket was wide, if you remember, 140-odd deliveries, and Shastri was like, I mean, Shastri usually is a master of hyperbole, but in this case, really, this was a clear, a stroke that, you can tell Shaz that, Ronak.
What is this? What is this? My frame got stuck. I was doing this. I hope it wasn't showing like anything else. Yeah. I was like, Shastri pe kyun bhai? Yeah.
No. I mean, the thing is like Shaz really, when he talks, he watches the game closely, and he himself was saying that look at that stroke, 141 kilometers per hour, Jasprit Bumrah, and this guy is like playing with a straight drive. He's not like slogging or something. It's like and then against Ashwin himself was challenged like with that one conventional sweep, which was a slog sweep, but still like Ashwin was like trying to use the drift, trying to. I mean, it's really good to watch that.
It's brilliant.
On
I
home
think,
conditions, India have been challenged.
The simple point is that exactly that normally India gets 400, 440 plus, and then they're just so far ahead in the game in Test cricket. लेकिन अब यहाँ पे, in spite of going down in the last Test, they will be challenged throughout. They cannot afford to have a sloppy innings with the ball. They cannot afford to have a collapse in the second innings with the bat. तो इसी के साथ, I think we'll wait and see. Rohan rightly points out that there are still runs to get, and let's see how they approach things on this at the start of day 3 when the pitch will be a day older. बट बहुत कुछ हो रहा है इंडियन क्रिकेट में आउटसाइड ऑफ दिस टेस्ट मैच एज वेल. जब इस स्टेडियम का फिर से उद्घाटन हुआ एज अ रीनेमिंग, जय शाह द बीसीसीआई सेक्रेटरी सेड अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स दैट कॉट आवर अटेंशन एज पीपल हु फॉलो न्यूज़ इन इंडियन क्रिकेट. और उसमें से एक चीज़ ये थी कि भाई डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. बीसीसीआई के कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड जो खिलाड़ियों है उनको अपने स्टेट के लिए खेलना ही होगा. एंड इफ़ दे आर नॉट एट एनसीए, इफ़ दे आर नॉट out of the national team, and if they're not injured, they need to show up for their states. And selection committee chairman ने भी कुछ सुझाव दिए, अजीत आगरकर ने, and Jay Shah has been very, very firm, which is quite refreshing. I mean, Nagaraj, you followed the news a long time, Rohan, you as well. This is clearly a diktat coming from the board because they are concerned about Indian players not showing up to play domestic cricket. अब जहाँ पुजारा, अजिंक्य रहाणे, आज शार्दुल ठाकुर ने 6 विकेट निकाले. अजिंक्य रहाणे in a bizarre way has been dismissed obstructing the field and called back. तो बहुत कुछ होता है domestic cricket में. लेकिन ईशान किशन is an interesting one, right? Now we must qualify कि any player who wants time away for mental health reasons, it's very important to respect that. लेकिन दूसरी तरफ, I'm sure this has also opened the gates for others. KS Bharat's return, now Dhruv Jurel. Kishan has still not shown up for his home team in domestic cricket. IPL is not far away, Rohan. So it's the kind of thing जो क्योंकि BCCI secretary ने ये सब कहा है, fans की भी जो सोच होगी, जो emotions होगी, they'll be looking around and seeing, right, who is actually responding to this. The board will also be looking, but there remains a question mark on a player like Ishan Kishan. And again, I say this fully empathizing with anybody who wants to take time away from the game for health reasons.
Well, I think Nagaraj had written a very interesting thing about Shreyas Iyer, right? About his fitness, that he was Nagaraj, you mentioned, right, that he was given a clearance by the BCCI medical team about his injury. Now, this is interesting because even Shreyas Iyer is not playing domestic cricket.
Yes.
Ishan Kishan is definitely not playing. Obviously, he asked for a mental break, but even former cricketers like Irfan Pathan ने भी ट्वीट करके कहा कि अगर आप प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं तो आप डोमेस्टिक मैच क्यों नहीं खेल रहे. दूसरी बात ये कि श्रेयस अय्यर भी नहीं दिखे, दीपक चहर भी इंजरी से वापस आ रहे हैं, वो भी जो है रणजी ट्रॉफी नहीं खेल रहे. बट as you rightly said, now there is how the players are looking at it. कि अभी 3 टेस्ट मैचेस के लिए टीम अनाउंस हो चुकी है. Look at ईशान किशन्स केस, 2 विकेट कीपर ऑलरेडी है इंडियन टीम में फिलहाल. जुरेल है, उसके बाद केएस भरत भी है. In terms of pace bowling options, there is a sort of a relay which is going on कि नेट बॉलर कौन होगा. आवेश खान पहले नेट बॉलर थे, अब आकाशदीप नेट बॉलर हो गए हैं, मुकेश कुमार वापस जाके रणजी खेल रहे हैं. नेक्स्ट टेस्ट मैच कहीं ना कहीं सितंबर में. The only cricket, the form of cricket that possibly is there is now T20 cricket from the end of the England series till end of September, end of the World Cup, and there are a lot of spots up for grabs in T20 World Cup for the Indian squad. Depends on how the players are looking at. Player contracts भी एक चीज़ है जो कि up for discussion आएगा कि कब player contracts finalize होते हैं, who will get the contracts. So a lot of things are lined up, and it's interesting phase in Indian cricket. Are we looking at cricketers who are possibly saying there is a scope for me to play T20 cricket, just continue playing T20 cricket?
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And we had this chat 2 days back also, didn't we? When I was in South Africa, कि bhai abhi if a player wants to prioritize white ball cricket, IPL cricket, with what it is giving him either financially or even from what his skill set is, what is the harm in it at the end of the day? If he does not want to play Ranji Trophy cricket, you have to look at the next set of players, and that's how guys like Jurel, Sarfaraz Khan will all get their opportunities. So I don't have a leaning either way on this because it's not an easy fix, Nagaraj, but जब हम बड़े players की बात करते हैं, Shreyas Iyer, Ishan Kishan, I think you can almost assume they'll be ready for the first IPL game, which will make, cast aspersions on अरे फिर आप एक आध गेम क्यों नहीं खेल सकते थे रेड बॉल क्रिकेट में? यू कुड हैव प्लेड सच एन इंपॉर्टेंट सीरीज, टेस्ट सीरीज कमिंग अप. नाउ यू हैव श्रेयस अय्यर्स मेडिकल रिपोर्ट. आपको पहले मिला, श्रेयस को बाद में मिला, तो आप हमें बता सकते हैं कि एग्जैक्टली हाउ डू वी रीड दिस सिचुएशन?
And मेरे से पहले तुझे मिल गया होगा अफ्रीका में.
I'm sure. You're right, Nagaraj. You're right. I'm sure Ronak would have got it.
Yes.
No, I don't accept any documents from people in the board. I only accept gossip. But yes, Nagaraj, carry on.
Yes, but look, the BCCI never made it publicly saying that a contracted player is mandatory that you have to play, you have to report to something, because a contracted player is accountable for someone, right? Here, the conjecture or whatever speculation was being cast on, let's say, take an example of Ishan Kishan. It started with Ishan Kishan, right? In December, he tells Rahul Dravid, Dravid himself says that we have had a word with Kishan and he wanted a break, and we said, okay, fine, you go ahead with the break. So the next step, what is the next step? The next step ideally should be the player should tell the selectors or the BCCI if he wants to not play Ranji Trophy or whatever. But there was never, neither of us have read the player contracts. Does the player contract make it mandatory that you have to make yourself available to play domestic cricket when you're not playing international cricket? Because still, you as a BCCI contracted player, you have an obligation towards that. You can't take your own, unless it's a fitness related issue. Even then, the BCCI medical staff monitors that. Certain players started taking, I won't take a name right now, but a very senior player at 1.2 years back took that decision on his own, and that backfired when the NCA, including Dravid and Lakshman, at that point they said that okay, nothing doing, you'll have to report to NCA to get that medical report passed, otherwise it is not proper, because you're setting the wrong example. In Ishant's case, his pictures were found him training in Baroda at a private academy alongside Pandya's, and then the speculation that is the franchise involved? So all these questions started springing up. The BCCI finally decided, and thankfully, and I like that finally Jay Shah said publicly that this is what it is. We are making it mandatory. Now, we are saying that Ishan Kishan still has not started playing Ranji Trophy. Shreyas Iyer is sitting up. We don't know whether the players have told the selectors that. I haven't yet been checking that. But I think it's a good... and one important thing Jay Shah said, that I have given a free handle to Ajit Agarkar. Now, if that is good, if the chairman of selectors has actually been given that authority, then he can crack the whip. Then he can take the Agarkar and his panel can decide, then okay, fine. It's not about, and what Rohan was saying is that, okay, there is no test cricket being played and we only play that's not how things work, right? Like, I can't tell my office that, okay, fine, I'm only interested in writing on a format of cricket. I mean, look, Ronak is not, he's raising his eyebrows. It's like, I can't say that, right? I have to do everything if I'm paid. So it's but I think
there is nothing to play, right? There is nothing to play right now. Like your test squad is announced for the next 3 test matches.
What is nothing to
and you already have 2 wicket keepers in the squad.
But in this case, one of them gets injured, then are you going to go back to Ishan Kishan because he played and took a break, or are you going to say no, because he's not playing domestic cricket abhi, he's not in consideration? So I think the ball is actually in the players' court here. Do you want to play red ball cricket or not? Rohan makes a good point. What if he plays a Ranji Trophy game right now, gets injured and misses an IPL? And these games happen at far and distant venues. It sometimes is taxing for the player to even join the squad for just one-off game. if I understand why a player does not want to play first class cricket anymore, I think the selectors should simply look at the wide pool that they have और फिर बोलो कि ठीक है अगर आप नहीं खेल रहे हो we won't consider you. So now I hope when the home tests come back, when the home tests are starting after the Zimbabwe series, when you have New Zealand and I think Bangladesh coming to India, I hope then you don't say okay we're going back to Shreyas Iyer or we're going to XYZ. Then you should back Sarfaraz Khan, you should get the next set of domestic run getters, and that is your test team. I think that
I agree with that, but
of Indian cricket now.
But is that narrative changed now? Is that actually the process?
Much. You're right.
Yeah.
No, not the I'm not saying it's the process. I'm saying the times have shifted. Yeah.
Should be like if you make the next contracts, you allow the player to pick. He says that I'm interested in white ball cricket. Then give him the grade C or whatever. Say that, or give him like on a retain him for point. Whatever. If the
we already have one player, right? Guys, we already have एक खिलाड़ी तो already है जो सिर्फ white ball cricket ही खेल रहा है. फिलहाल ट्रेनिंग कर रहा है like he's putting his videos of getting back onto the field. That's Hardik. We know that Hardik is only playing one format.
Absolutely.
But he's already made it clear I'm not playing test cricket. He's at least in his case he's made it clear that I'm not fit for test cricket, and he's told the selectors that, you would think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a unique one, right? Are you asking a player to tell you if he's fit, or are you asking the NCA to tell you is a player fit or not? Then I'll decide if I want to select him. And this is where the fact that India have one set of administrators, coaches for all formats comes in, right? Otherwise, England को अगर हम देखें कि अलग white ball coach है, अलग red ball coach है, लेकिन एक director है, and certain calls are taken looking at priority of the next 12 months. अभी यहाँ पे you'll always have a white ball World Cup almost every year, or at least a white ball ICC event. You'll always have an IPL. So workload management of some of these very unique players is important. Now I think the challenge for Indian cricket is कि पहले ये बात सिर्फ हार्दिक तक थी या बुमराह तक थी, अब ये बात सभी तक पहुंच गई है. Now players are basically taking calls themselves.
But good point, and to take that forward, there is that communication. I know for sure that BCCI medical staff has reports on not just the contracted players, but there's a targeted pool of players which is picked by every selection panel, the 25-30 odd players who are beyond these 15-16 who play in different formats. And Hardik, there is a report clearly. I mean, there is always a chatter around Hardik can be a test all-rounder. He himself is saying I'm not fit for test, but it's also the medical staff who is also saying right now he's not even playing white ball cricket. That's the question mark. So and the other bit is how can you suddenly, if let's say if the guy is a contracted player and he's not played domestic cricket at all, and he suddenly is brought into the red ball format, that's also wrong for the. I mean, there has to be these kind of
for those who play. For those who play.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be clear steps, and that only the selectors can convey to the BCCI, saying that okay, and the selectors should also speak to like players like. Whoever these white ball players, let's not take names, but whoever these guys, if they are not interested in playing red ball cricket at all, have that clear chat with them and then convey that when they make the contract. So I don't know.
So easy. So many हमने इतने solution दे दिए यहाँ पे यार हमारे 10-15 मिनट के chat में. हमें 10 मिनट ही बात करनी थी, हम बात कर गए 25-26 मिनट के लिए क्योंकि इतनी interesting बातचीत हो रही थी. So let's leave it there. Again, like we said, I have no judgment on the current players, but there has to be a clear direction, and I like that the administrators have gone that way. So we might see 40 to 50, maybe 60 players earn contracts of different grades the next time they come up. क्योंकि आप देख रहे हो कि कौन से players टेस्ट क्रिकेट को वैल्यू करते हैं, and you could see that in the Sarfaraz Khan story and how he started. So why not? This is perhaps a lesson for the Indian cricket. चलिए 500 की बात हो गई थी अश्विन की. अभी देखते हैं 500 से ज्यादा और कितने बढ़ेंगे. नागराज, आई वोंट डिस्ट्रैक्ट यू एनीमोर. गो फॉलो अश्विन 501, 2, 3 टुमारो. रोहन देशमुख, हम फिर कल बात करेंगे. थैंक यू सो मच गाइज फॉर योर टाइम. फैसिनेटिंग टाइम फॉर इंडियन क्रिकेट. रियली गुड टेस्ट मैच एज वेल. सो वी लुक फॉरवर्ड टू योर कंपनी एट 5 PM tomorrow for FTB Live, and make sure you follow us on all our social channels. Until then, bye bye.